Now let's welcome Maggie, the director of advertising platform business. She also has a rich experience in this relevant area. And now the rest of time we will give it to Maggie. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your introduction. Hi guys, very nice to meet you online. This is Maggie at EVYD, and I'm basically taking charge of the mobile advertising platform business. So next I will introduce about our company and our business. For the beginning, okay. From the beginning, I would like to introduce about our market and how big our market is. Let's start from a very short video. And this video is about our friend Tom. He's an Indian and he's reading news on Daily Hunt. Let's start the video. He clicks Daily Hunt and he's reading news on Daily Hunt. And then suddenly he's noticed an ad from Facebook and he thinks that it's quite interesting. So he clicks the ad and then redirected to App Store. And then it's about the ad of Facebook and he clicks install. It's a quite simple action, but actually for this different kind of actions, it could generate a very giant market, which is our market. In our market, we have around 7.8 billion tons in the world, and almost half of which we have a smartphone. And this number, 3.5 billion tons with a smartphone could generate around 240 billion mobile advertising market, with almost 400 million apps on App Store and Google Play every year, and almost half of 240 billion are performance ads. And in this market, the annual growth rate should be around 20% every year. And you know that for each giant market, we never less our companions. So also same here in this market, we have a lot of companions like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, and they are also very big players in our market. For Google, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, only these four big giants in this industry, they almost take away about 70% of the market share and left 30% of the market share for rest of us, which means 30 billion mobile advertising market to all the companies like EVYD. And this is about our market. The next part I will introduce about in this very big market, what kind of things do we do in this market and how we survive in this market with the competitors like Facebook and Google. So for our company, we basically focus on data-driven mobile marketing, and we help our advertisers and app developers to provide them the full-stack solutions. We help our advertisers to acquire users globally and also help them to help our publishers to monetize inventories and also help some of our e-commerce companies to expand their brand awareness. That is what we do in this market. And as for EVYD, we started our business at 2011. So for over 10 years, we focused in this industry, and we are now a listed company in China. And we have basically clients and publishers globally. We are also key partners and also premium partners of Google and Facebook. And for last year, we also started our business with ByteDance as their core partner in China and also in global. So that is our some awards and titles from some big companies. And so all in all, we basically help our worldwide clients to acquire global users. As you can see that we have our clients in APAC and also in Americans and in Europe. We provide our services and solutions to different kinds of advertisers, include games and e-commerce, and also some utilities. As you can notice that for some big companies like Rakuten and Kaban, they also have a very long-term partnership with us. And we also help our worldwide publishers to make more money, which means like for companies like Samsung, they have their global users and we help them to monetize their user to show some ads on their app. And all this by displaying the right ads to the right user. Here we have different kinds of ad format, like banner, rewarded video, and also some native. So through all these ad formats, we put the right ads to the right user in order to acquire the users for our advertisers globally, and also to make more money for our publishers globally. That is the second part. And for the third part, I will introduce how we display the right ads to the right user globally. As I mentioned, that we basically connect the advertisers and the users. So our advertisers, they want to acquire users globally, and they want to acquire quality users globally. Like if I have a game app, and then I want to acquire some users which like play my game and also would like to, you know, buy some cards or some other things in my app. So that is what the advertiser would. And for publishers, if I have 5 million users globally, I would like to know the value of our 5 million users globally. Well, how we could maximize our users' value in order to provide them more valuable and more relatable ads. So that is how we drive all these activities. For all these needs, we connect through data-driven. And for inside of our company, we have our business development manager to connect with our clients like TikTok, Alibaba, and Tencent. We help them to provide full stack solutions and also help them to do some local services. Since we know the global market and we know how to acquire users in Japan. And for publisher side, we also have our publisher development manager to help them to provide a full stack monetization solutions. And we connect all these clients' needs and the publisher needs on our platform, EVYD platform. And inside this platform, we have our data analysis and also client success manager and publisher partnership manager to deal with all the requirements and all their needs in order to have a better result and could provide with them better service on our platform, and to work more efficient and to deal with all these requirements more efficient. We have our engineer and project manager to ensure all these activities could be work very fluently. And so this is about how we display the right ads to the right user, which means how we work on EVYD platform through data analysis, client success manager, and publisher partnership manager, and also engineer and product manager. So for this part, we have a very comprehensive DMP and with very huge data on this platform. And through our machine learning, we could divide all the users into different groups. Like for this group, they prefer to use some e-commerce apps, and for that group, they prefer to play some RPG games. So we divide all these data into different groups, and then we display them with specific acts. Like if I'm a woman in China and I would like to buy some things on e-commerce, and I have already installed Taobao on my mobile phone. So we basically would like to display the similar app to me. That is how our deep machine learning strategy works. And for our BD and PD, we basically take in charge of the new clients, and we develop some potential clients and provide with them our services and the solutions to help them with the global user acquisitions. And we are also provide them with valuable insights, especially for China clients, we provide them the valuable insights like in Japan, in Korea, or in US. And for overseas clients, we provide them the local, which means the insights in China. How could they grow their app in China, and how could they acquire valuable users and quality users in China? And our BD and PD also work as our brand ambassador and also share some industry trends in some events to help them to know more about the market. And for our AM, we basically take in charge of the deal. We basically take in charge of the requirements and how to meet the requirements, meeting the target of our advertisers. Here's an example about Gardenscape. As for Gardenscape, they are a career developer in Russia, and it's a quite interesting app. They have their needs in China and Russia, US, Canada, South Korea, and Japan, and Germany, and Italy. They have their needs to acquire Android users globally for 15,000 and iOS users for 10,000 in this area. So we help them to buy the traffic on all the apps and the developers and to meet their requirement. And so after a very long time working with the Gardenscape, we help them to get the average trial play rate from 0 to YD reached 83%. And Gardenscape is also our very top client globally. And for AM, we also help our e-commerce clients to acquire users globally and also help them to do brand awareness in local area. Here's an example about Tokopedia. For Tokopedia, they have their budget in Indonesia, and they basically focus in Indonesia to acquire more users globally, to acquire more users in Indonesia. They have very specific and very strict KPIs or targets. And they have, like if we bring them about 10,000 users, they need to have 7,000 of users should have purchase in their app. So after 2 years work with the Tokopedia, we help them to rank into top 6 traffic supply in 2017 and 2018. And their app also ranked in number 3 in Indonesia as e-commerce app. So that is what our AM do in our business. And as for PM, they basically take in charge of the publisher side. As for publisher side, we help the publishers to monetize their app and or monetize their user. Here's an example about our publisher. This is the app of Puzzle, and for Puzzle, they have their global users in US and in China, and also in Japan. They have around 6 million users globally. And since it's a free app, so they also want to consider about how to monetize about their app. And after discussion with us, we provide them the monetization solution, and which is the user can get about 100 golds if they choose to watch a rewarded video ad. And for this 100 golds, they could buy things and buy, buy another chance to play the game. So after our monetization solution, we help them to have a very good eCPM growth on their app. Here's the number of Puzzle. After integrating with EVYD, the eCPM almost tripled, and also the revenue almost tripled after working with EVYD. And then here's in this business circle, we also have our creative team. Since we display the right ads to the right user, but we also need to optimize our creative in order to make the user want to download the app. So for our creative team, we diversify the creative different from GEO to GEO. Like in China, basically we like to watch some comics or some other things, then we could change the color and also about the overall color tone to make the creative more interesting and to make the user to download the app. So our creative team, we do a lot of things to optimize the creative and to optimize the creative from GEO with different user groups. And by optimizing the creative, we could reach the RR growth and also have a better result on different kinds of apps. And for the last part is about our product team. As for all the BD and PM and AM, they are doing something about negotiating and to provide different kinds of solutions and to change different kinds of requirements. But for the exact how to display the right ads to the right user, it is basically taken charge by our product team. We collect different kind of data like user OS, language, and what kind of apps do they like, or what kind of apps are they installing. So by all this data, we could display the right ads to the right user, and also we could select out the most lookalike audience to display the ads. And all this we basically driven by machine learning prediction engine and also lookalike audience targeting. So by all this, we could find the right user and to cut some and to optimize the budget when the advertiser were to acquire some users globally. And that is all my introduction about our business. Okay, please, any question? Let me know if you have any question.
Hello, Maggie. My name is Ali from Azerbaijan. I have one question about your system. Is that just you give your services to the products like apps that's ready and ongoing, or develop apps? My meaning is that, do you recommend that doing any change that you people get into the market or not? You just doing advertisement. You don't give any recommendation that achieving to the market as well.
Oh, okay. You know that for the mobile marketing, it's quite a big market. As the introduction I just did, we basically focus on advertising, which is display the ads to the user. But apart from this business, we also work with the App Store and Google Play, and to work with them about some recommendations for some apps, which is also included in our business, but it's another part of business. And since you know that for recommendations, it's only at the very beginning of the publish of the apps. So it's a quite small business. Like if I have an app, when I want to release my app, only for the first 2 weeks, I have the need to recommend on Google Play or on App Store. You know that with App Store, you have the recommendations about of the day, and it's changed quite frequently, day by day. So unlike, yeah.
And for example, for a new game, whenever coming to the market, if nobody knows about the game, you start from the first person doing the advertisement. How many people do you think you will get for the first, I don't know, first month downloading the game and using that, something like that? Do you have any static information?
Okay, sure, no problem. As okay, for a new app, we start from branding, which means we buy ads from television and also from App Store and also from Google Play to make the brand awareness about the app. And for the second part, when people have awareness about the app, we start the pre-registration about the app, which means like if we work with some like a daily hunt, we buy the interstitial ads to show the app on the ads, and when user is interested about the app, they will do some pre-registration, and then we could briefly know how many users could we bring for our advertiser after the app released in time. So that is the second step. And for the third step, when the app is officially released, then we buy the ads on Facebook and on Google and on different kinds of other publishers. And through all these different channels, we basically could bring about like a lot of users different from different geos, different countries. Like in Japan, maybe we could bring, like in Korea, actually we had a case just last month in Korea. We could bring around 10,000 users, new users in Korea for a new game app.
Thank you very much. I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you for your question.
可以跟他说有其他问题也可以问。
Any other questions?
So, okay, guys, if you have any other questions for this company, you can unmute yourself and yes.
Here's Tarek.
Yeah. It's one type in the chat box. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please, I need to know how your company make a balance between the agreement of GDPR and privacy protection from as the impact. Do you have some kind of balance to comply with such agreement and while collecting the data and make data analytics?
Okay, that is a very good question. Since we are dealing with the ATT just yesterday. So for GDPR, since you know that we couldn't connect the IP of the user or the last two number of the IP should be 00. So for this part, we basically divide the user from user to cluster, which means user group. As for GDPR and ATT, there are also very strict protection for user privacy. We couldn't connect the IP specifically, and we couldn't connect the the IDFA, which is the unique user identification. So in order to, deal with the two policies, we started our, contextual. We connect the contextual data from user, which means like if they have the other in-app activities, we based on the in-app activities to target the user, and we also change the user target to user cluster target or user group target. It is quite difficult for companies like us or for some demand-side platforms to target the specific user anymore. So it is also a very challenging thing for advertiser company to target the user. So the cost for each user, the cost for acquisition of each user should be getting higher than before.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions for Maggie for his company? And you can just unmute yourself and then ask her. So if you don't have any questions, I think it's time for the end of our first company. And I also write down the contact email of Maggie in the chat box. So if you would like to have further questions or even would like to discuss about the cooperation with Maggie, so you can send her emails. So before the end of this session, I think we can take this group photo with Maggie, and thanks to her for his presentation today. So please open up your video. We can take this photo.
Okay, thank you all.
Okay, guys, just a few minutes. Okay, guys, just a few minutes. We're going to take this group photo. Okay. Okay, guys. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, Maggie. Thank you for your presentation. So, yeah, it's the first part of the of our session today. And actually, we have this the second speaker at about 5:30. So, I think it's gonna be a long a long break for you guys today. So I'll see you back at 5:30. Okay, 5:30.
听到，很清楚。
感觉这次就没有那么迷惑，上次那么迷。
那我们就our GI business school. And now I think we have more than 200 students in this business school, and I know most of you are from the universities. So I think it can be a good opportunity for us to think about future cooperation with our GI business school. So I will give the time to Ms. Chen Feiyan to let her introduce you more about our GI business school. 好，飞燕可以开始了。
好的，谢谢记者。那今天非常开心跟大家分享长城商学院的这个创新创业教育经验啊。
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and it's really my pleasure to introduce you about the innovation experience and our entrepreneurship by the Great Wall Business School.
其实长城商学院呢，应该说是长城战略咨询去开展教育和培训的这样的一个品牌。我今天重点要分享的呢是长城战略咨询跟宁波财经学院合作共建的这样的一个宁波财经学院长城商学院。那么这个长城商学院，我们重点目前主要开展的是本科人才的这个培养。
So I should say actually the Great Wall Business School is the platform or is the body for GI to conduct related education and training programs. But this is the Great Wall Business School in general. And today I'm focusing on the collaboration of GI and Ningbo University of Economics and Finance, which is a joint platform called Great Wall, also called Great Wall Business School, and mainly conducting bachelor degree education.
今天的话，下一页，我将重点从这个建设主体基本的情况、教师、课程、实践活动大赛以及平台这6个方面去讲。
So today I would like to focus on 6 parts of this collaboration, Great Wall Business School, in terms of two sponsors, and also the profiles, experts and curriculum, practice or competition, and the platforms.
首先，建设主体的话呢是长城战略咨询和宁波财经学院。长城战略咨询可能大家都还是有所了解的，我重点介绍一下这个宁波财经学院的一些情况。
So first of all, in terms of two sponsors, as I mentioned, it is a collaboration between university and enterprise. The enterprise here is Great Wall Enterprise Institute, short as GI, you are very familiar with. So my highlight for today will be Ningbo University of Finance and Economics.
在下一页直接翻到宁波财经学院。
好。
宁波财经学院呢，它是属于地方应用型的民办本科高校，它主要有3个方面的一个特点。
So Ningbo University of Finance and Economics is a local application-oriented undergraduate education institution, which is run by private sectors.
首先，第一个呢，就是它是属于民办的一所本科院校。民办的话，它的这个体制机制是相对比较灵活的，而且就是更加的一些开放。
So being supported by private sectors or by private runners, the university is extremely flexible and open-minded.
第2个方面呢，就是它是定位的是服务于地方区域经济发展的这种应用型的一些高校，包括这个学校它的这个办学理想就是成为中小企业发展的首选大学。
And in the meanwhile, actually, the mission or the ambition of the university is to serve local economy development and regional development by creating the supporting applications and also highlight the application of different disciplines. And in the meanwhile, it aims to become the first choice of small and medium enterprises from that location.
第3个点呢，就是这个学校的创新创业教育做得非常好。它是在16年的时候被评为全国民办高校创新创业示范学校，而且它目前是以双创教育作为它学校的一大特色和亮点。
So actually, the university has a very great experience with entrepreneurship and innovation. It was rated as National Demonstration Private School for Innovation and Entrepreneurship Education in 2016. And nowadays, the university has made entrepreneurship and innovation as the 2 major highlights of the university.
那以上的它的这个学校的3个特点呢，也是我们跟他们合作去建这个学院的一个基本的一个基础。
So previously, I mentioned you about the 3 characteristics or features of Ningbo University of Finance and Economics that are also the reason for the collaboration.
接下来介绍这个学校的基本的长城商学院的基本情况。
So now let's move to the Great Wall Business School under Ningbo University of Finance and Economics.
首先呢，就是翻到这个校在后面，对，
直接到商学院那一页是吗？
对，就到这里，就到前一页。对，我们长城战略咨询跟宁波财经学院在19年建长城商学院之前，已经在整个学校的战略方面以及它特色学院的这种建设方面已经合作了有8年的这个基础。
So actually, before the year 2019, which marked the establishment of Great Wall Business School, GI and the University of Finance and Economics of Ningbo have already celebrated 8 years of collaboration and cooperation, and helping the university to achieve strategic upgrading.
再下一页。那这个学校呢，长城商学院是我们2019年4月跟学校共同成立的。我们的属于宁波财经学院下面非独立建制的这样一个特色学院。目前是两个校区进行办学，然后是也拿到了这个全国首个的创业管理专业。
So currently speaking, I should say the exact date of the establishment of Great Wall Business School, it can be dated back to April 2019. And again, as I mentioned, the Great Wall Business School, Ningbo University of Finance and Economics, it is a special school of Ningbo of the university. It is a non-independent institution. So the location, currently speaking, this business school is running in two campuses of Ningbo University of Finance and Economics. One is the headquarters and another one is Hangzhou Bay campus. The major, as mentioned, is entrepreneurial management, which is also the first in China to offer this major.
这个专业呢，就是之前有很多学校希望去办，但是这个是就是说中国所有的这个专业必须是教育部批准之后才能够设的。然后这次也是因为我们去申报，我们去向教育部申报这个专业，然后教育部通过，我们可以去创办这个专业，所以我们是全国第一个去开设这个专业的一个学院。
So to explain a little bit about the major or discipline system in China, every major offered by universities should be approved and accredited by the Ministry of Education, the PRC. So actually, there are previous before us. There are many schools or higher education institutions have the strong interest in opening up this entrepreneurial management as a major of the school. But however, during for our application, it was a success. So because we have the resource and we have the platform to support this school, this major and related courses. So again, we are number one in the country to set up or to open the entrepreneurial management related courses.
我们这个专业呢，目前培养的是4类人。第一类呢是新经济企业管理者。新经济企业管理者呢，其实就是说的是目前新经济时代那些企业的做内部创业的这样的管理运营的人员。第二类呢是创服机构的经营者，就是去到这种孵化器啊、科技园区啊、产业园区这些做管理运营、服务于初创企业的这样的一些人。第三类呢是家族企业接班人，这一类呢也是因为在浙江宁波这一带长三角地区有很多的这种家族企业，他们也面临着传承的这个问题。第四类呢就是创新创业者。
So actually, the 4 type of talents under the mission of this Great Wall Business School or under this new major, entrepreneurial management, we aim to create 4 types of talents. The first one is a new generation of entrepreneurs. Here, I mean, actually, those people who are doing science and technology innovation related businesses. And the second is new economy business managers, focusing on the institutional employees who want to make some creation or innovation within the current institution or system. And also the business operators of innovation and service institutions or facilities. That means those students will go to science parks or to those kind of incubation systems to serve science park or to serve startup companies. And also, and the 4th one is family business successors. As we know, in the Yangtze River Delta Economic Zone or Belt, there are so many family businesses there in those provinces. So how to pass on the legacy or asset or the success of the family to the next generation, to a younger generation, it also requires capacity and knowledge.
我们目前的这个学院的一个学生规模呢，是从2020年开始是基本上保持一届200人，然后是200人的话。
看见了。Hello， 啊，这个是对。
静音关系。
蔡总，您现在是在静音，您可以查一下。
喂。
哎，您好，您好，蔡总。
Hello。
蔡总，您可以分享一下屏幕，我们看一下您的这个 PPT。
好。
OK， 可以。然后，蔡总您还可以把您的这个姓名、职务还有您的邮箱，您可以写在我们的留言板块，然后这样的话，大家就可以会后可以通过邮件联系您。
好。
好的，蔡总，那现在好的，蔡总，那现在我同事这边会做一个开场白，然后把时间交给您，您来跟大家介绍。
好。
Okay. Hello, welcome back. Yeah. Now we will to begin to share something about EduCloud. Let me have a short introduction of EduCloud. EduCloud offers healthy course solution built on big data and artificial intelligence technologies. Now let's welcome Mr. Tai, and he is the manager of Edu Overseas Business Department and has rich relevant knowledges. Now let's give the rest of time to Mr. Tai. Yeah, thank you.
Hi all. Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm Mingjie Chua, CEO of EVYD Technology. EVYD Technology is the international subsidiary of E2Tech Limited. E2Tech recently listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. It's a leading healthcare AI and big data company in China. Before I begin with the introduction, I would like to share our mission. We share the same mission as our parent company, E2Tech, which is to make value-based precision healthcare accessible to everyone. Here, there's 3 keywords that we focus on: value-based, precision, and accessible. Essentially, what we are trying to do is to add objectivity to the healthcare system, and also to enable decision-making in the healthcare system to be informed based on data. And we believe the way to do so is to develop a data intelligence infrastructure to support evidence generation and knowledge generation and accumulation. Here is an overview of our core capability, which we term E2 Core. There are 3 levels to which we define E2 Core. The first level is our data processing capability, and that is gained from processing cumulatively over 1.3 billion longitudinal healthcare records from over 300 million patients from more than 300 hospitals served by our parent company, E2Tech. Maybe I would like to share, sort of the context, in which, how we assess our capability in the area of data processing. We look at it in terms of the quality of the data that we process, the output of that data that we process, as well as the efficiency in which we process that data. The first hospital that our parent company E2TAP processed in 2014, it took them more than a year to aggregate the data from all the operating systems in that hospital and converting that data from raw form into structured and standardized form. Today, the same process will only take them a few weeks. And due to that capability, when COVID-19 hit, our parent company was actually engaged by several cities in China, including Wuhan and Beijing, to develop the pandemic response platform. We have also been engaged by Brunei to develop the epidemic response platform for them in March last year, and that engagement has actually grown to a long-term partnership. We are also working with the Singapore MOH for COVID-19 related solutions. So that's level one of how we define E2 Core. The second level is the medical knowledge and insights that we accumulate when we apply the process data to run different algorithms and model in different use case scenarios. Later in the presentation, I will share with you what some of these scenarios are. The third layer of our E2 Core capability is our operational capability and ecosystem that we develop wrapped around our technology and data processing capability. We truly believe that in healthcare, relying on technology itself or just delivering technology solutions is not enough. It has to be technology plus services, and these services need to be backed by strong domain knowledge. As a result, if you look at the makeup of our employee base, we do have a significant proportion of our employees that are people with technical expertise on domain knowledge, right? So here's another view of the steps that are involved in the data processing. So the first step is actually aggregating data from different hospitals' information systems. And here you can see the systems that we aggregate the data from when we serve hospital or when we serve the local health departments. We have HIS, we have PETS, EMR, LIS, etc. After we aggregate the data, we will structurize the data and standardize the data and apply our data quality control rules. Quality control is very important because of the, it's generally known the issue with data quality, in healthcare, because a lot of this data are actually, generated input by humans, and most of the, in that process of inputting that data, most of the doctors, nurses, etc., people working in hospitals, they are very busy, right? That's why it's prone to human error. So we will apply our data quality control rule to make sure that, the integrity, to ensure the integrity of that data. The output of that is high quality structured and standardized data that then we apply to different use case scenarios, applying different, a variety of AI techniques. Here is a view of our big data and AI infrastructure. You can see at the bottom is the, the different systems in which we aggregate the data. So we have systems in the hospitals as well as out of hospital, depending on the customers that we serve. One very important thing to note is that, we position ourselves as a provider to, hospitals, to policymakers, etc. Right? So we are their data processor. We do not take over their data. And above that are the different steps involved in processing that data. And the output of that, is different, data intelligence models to optimize for different use case scenarios. And here you can see medical research, CDSS, MDT, public health surveillance, population health, resource optimization, value-based healthcare. So here's, a view of our solution architecture. At the bottom again, so it's similar to the slide that I showed here, but here is a lot more technical, and here is looking at it from the scenario or use case perspective. At the bottom again is our big data platform, and above that we develop a series of applications and tools, some of which can be third parties as well, to leverage the data to actually drive outcomes in the different use cases that sits above it. Right? So you can see that in the layer above, we have what we call the research platform. And this is actually back to our fundamental belief that in healthcare, research is very fundamental, because that's where the insights, the knowledge are being generated. And it's this knowledge and insights that are being used to power the different use cases in the healthcare setting. Above that, the outcomes that we try to drive can be classified into 3 domains. In the safety domains, mainly public health safety, we have our comprehensive infectious diseases monitoring platform and our closed loop epidemic response system. I'll share more about this later in the presentation. And in the domain of health, we have our digital health services and personalized health management services. Digital health services is important because we need to digitalize the provision of care in order to bring the services outside of the hospital setting, right, back to the hands of individual patients, back into their home. And it's only with such digital tools, then we can layer on, a broader suite of services that then are more personalized to their individual needs. In the domain of policy making, we have resource planning and optimization and value-based healthcare. For resource planning and optimization, essentially what we try to do is with a big data platform and being able to aggregate the data, we allow policymakers to have a macro view of what is actually going on in the organization or in the systems they are responsible for. With that, you can do more effective comparison, benchmarking, trend spotting, analysis, etc. Right? And once you actually identify all these areas at the macro level for you to focus on, our platform allows you to trace to the source of the data so that you can address the issue at the source. And longer term, what we are trying to do is to embark on this journey with different health systems or health authorities or regulators on their journey towards value-based healthcare. That is going to be a long journey because it's not difficult. It's not going to be easy, right? Transforming existing systems, predominantly one that is still fee-for-service to value-based, and along with that, we need to accumulate more data and insights for us to better understand providers, better understand patients, so that we can do more precise matching of supplies to demand. Right. So here, again, back to the 3 domains where we try to optimize outcome. So here's a summary of the suite of solutions that I shared earlier. What we are trying to achieve for safety is early epidemic detection and prevention, prediction and simulation, resource prioritization and optimization, and optimizing epidemic infectious rate while ensuring business continuity. And in the area of health, we have personal health record and individual health scoring for more proactive self-care, chronic disease management to prevent costly implications, early cancer detection to improve survival rates. In the domain of value, fraud and inefficiencies detection and prevention, evidence-based evaluation and measurement, and value-based reimbursement for alignment of interest. Essentially, what we are trying to address is the waste that is prevalent in healthcare systems all over the world. And here we would like to share with you our data intelligence framework and how we look at the value of that data. The first layer is converting that data from raw form to computable form so that this data can be used to drive insights and knowledge. And as we accumulate the knowledge, and the knowledge becomes more widely acceptable, and the quality of that knowledge is of a certain standard, it becomes a form of evidence that is being used to guide decisions. And when this evidence are being used for reimbursements and for payments, it becomes a form of currency. And that is when, and that is what we call aligning the interest in healthcare in a value-based scenario. And we would also like to share with you, our approach to enabling research. Here you can see, our hospital-based registry and the 3 key value proposition of which. Our hospital-based registry are built on top of our big data platform. And earlier mentioned, our big data platform are actually directly plugged into the hospital systems and extracting data and aggregating that data as it's being produced. Right. So this registry has access to greater breadth and depth of data as opposed to more traditional registry when it's actually developed through accumulation of data that is actually created within that department of concern. Right. So here for our registry, even though they are structured according also to disease area, we are leveraging the data of such patients across the whole departments of their hospitals. And these data are being refreshed continuously as they are being produced. And as researchers use our registry to do their research, insights that are uncovered along the way, they can be codified and stored. So this knowledge and insights continue to be reinforced. And the output of that is higher quality, higher efficient, and greater impact research. Our research registry can also be connected to form a research network. And for us, the key value proposition is because if the individual sites are using our disease registry, the data are already structured to the same standard or same schema. Right? So that allows comparability across the different sites, so that when the data are analyzed, they can be interpreted in the same way, and we can run concurrent models across the different sites and to yield output that can be understood consistently across. And the output of that, is actually mostly used for standard setting, right? If you are when this is actually done at a national level, and it also facilitates the conduct of high quality real world study and industry partnering. And now moving on to our solutions in the 3 domains. For the public health safety, we have the comprehensive infectious diseases monitoring platform. Our platform actively track and monitor the emergence and spread of over 30 infectious diseases in real time, based on predetermined guidelines that are constantly updated based on real-world evidence, alert and specific SOP that involve various stakeholders, including public health officials, healthcare providers, patients, and the general public are triggered when different risk levels are hit. And for our closed-loop epidemic response system, there are 4 parts to it. One is the dynamic population management. For here, we will utilize or leverage, a set of tools, including user apps, including back-end, dashboards managed by the health authorities or the disease control unit, so that they can actually implement policies dynamically. Right. One way that we do it is through of an individual. Right. The health code will determine the type of activities that the individual can take part in, and the rule that determine the health code and the rule that determine the activities that the different color of the health code can participate in can be updated dynamically based on the underlying risk level of different regions. And we also have multi-dimensional contact tracing. And this not only relying on the traditional approach of epidemiology survey, we can also leverage things like Bluetooth, proximity detection, and a broader suite of data, population-based data, border control data, etc., or even hospital data to determine whether people have come into close proximity with a confirmed case. All of these are actually visible on the monitoring dashboard and control panel that allow the policymakers to actually very quickly assess risk levels. And we also have prediction and simulation for the policymakers to actually simulate different policy measures and to assess the impact on the risk level before they are being implemented. And in the area of health, earlier mentioned the digital health services, our closed loop or end-to-end platforms support the digitalization of hospital services. And this include online appointment, video consultations. We also have personal health records, that actually aggregate data of a patient across different settings and presenting it to a patient in a very intuitive way so that they can better understand their health conditions. And we can integrate with insurers, payers as well. And later we will share with you health management services that can also be supported in this one-stop app. And another way that we look at consistency of that service is at that data layer, right? To enable coordinated care across settings, what we enable is that accessibility of that data, of that patient journey across the different settings that providers can gain access to. And for this, we have built in robust privacy and security features such that these data are only accessible by physicians at the point of care, only with the authorization from the patient. And on top of that, longitudinal healthcare records accessible by a provider, we also layer on some intelligence like our CDSS, recurrent risk prediction, intelligent medical history tag of the patients, so that it allows you to actually quickly zoom into the parameters or conditions that are relevant for the point of for the episode of care. And this is important because of the massive amount of data actually in healthcare. Right? Even if we make that information, that data accessible, it's actually not very easy to extract information out of that all the existing records, especially given that most of the healthcare settings and healthcare systems, actually there's a lack of healthcare providers. And for our population health management approach, there are 3 tiers that we look at it. At the fundamental tier, which is the overall population, what we do is population stratifications based on the unique characteristics and profile of patients or of the population. We will classify them into different subsets based on their specific characteristics. And the aim is to actually allocate or to assign the most efficient resources as well as the most suitable intervention to each of the subgroups. One of the subgroups that we focus on is what we call the at-risk subgroup, right? And here the aim is to actually early detect patients or population groups that are more prone to chronic and critical illnesses. And the way that we identify this is actually to through our the disease risk models that we co-develop with our parent company. And for patients subgroup with pre-existing conditions, we also offer disease management solutions. So here's, here are some, example of user interface for each of this layer, what we offer. At the population level, population health level, we have individual health scoring to encourage proactive self-care and personal accountability. This can also be linked to personal health accounts to enable aligned incentive schemes. And also at the population health level, we have health education content as well. And these are curated and the advice and health content are pushed to each individual, personalized to their specific characteristics. And for early detection of patients at risk and proactive, for the patients at risk, the main purpose for us is to early detect them and to encourage them for more proactive screening. So there's two parts to it. One is actually to the to the individual itself, highlighting to them their risk level so that they themselves can go for proactive screening. The other is at the doctor dashboard, so that when they see when they are visiting a doctor, the doctor, based on their their metrics, individual metrics, the risk levels will be identified as well, so that the doctors can also encourage the patients to go for screening. And for disease management, through understanding individual patients, we can have tailored health plans and coordinated interventions to ensure effective disease management. Here is an overview of our health management platform and solution suite. So you can see that there are actually a few components to it. And this is because, for health management, population health management, to work effectively, it requires the involvement of different stakeholders. So looking at this, for example, we have the research community that we will engage because they are the one that actually analyze the data, make sense of the data, right, and produce the insights and knowledge that then we apply in the real world. And this then is iterated as we get the feedback from the real world. And the health management plan console is actually targeted to policymakers so that they can gain a better understanding of the health conditions of the population. And we have the content management system, partner management system. So these are actually targeted at entities like Health Promotion Board. Out of hospital care console, this can be used by doctors, existing doctors in the hospital for continuation of that provision of care outside of the hospital setting, and also for third-party service providers. And you have the physician workstation that we showed earlier, that we include patient management tools, care coordination tools, etc. Eventually, all of these services are provided through the user app to the individual. Next, in the domain of value, this is actually the way or the roadmap that we look at eventually moving towards value-based healthcare. Essentially, in the world of value-based healthcare, the way that we interpret and understand it is precise and optimal matching of resources, from provider to beneficiary or to the patient, right? And it's a roadmap that needs to be implemented step by step. And essentially, what we are trying to do to enable that effective matching is to gain a more precise understanding of provider, the accumulation of that provider data and information, as well as precise understanding of each beneficiary or patient through the accumulation of data in a beneficiary registry. And so here you can see in the gray boxes are the way that we expand upon the data sets to gain a better understanding of profile of a provider. And same for here, it's for us to gain a more precise understanding and profiling of a beneficiary. And all these boxes in purple and green, these are the different use cases that would enable the accumulation of this knowledge of each of the providers and beneficiary. Yeah, with that, I've come to the end of the prepared presentation. I will leave the rest of the time for questions.
Yes, guys, if you have questions for Mr. Tsai, you can ask it directly. Or you can just type your question on the chat box, and then Mr. Tsai is with us, so he can see your question as well. Okay, sir, there's a question for you in the chat box.
Hi. Yeah, I see a question from
Hungary.
Andras. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we are. So EVYD itself, we are actually we operate outside of China. Our parent company E2Tech, they are predominantly or mainly in China, and for us, we leverage the same underlying core to serve markets outside of China. And we are already in Brunei. We've also worked with the Singapore Ministry of Health and actively in discussion with several other health authorities.
Yes,
yeah, I see a question on digital twin in your medical platform. Do you mind clarifying that question? Because I don't quite understood the digital twin.
Digital twin actually is a incorporating virtual platform in the real-time medical scenario. It's like creating a digital equivalent of what's actually happening in hospital that can be used for effective monitoring of actual patients' conditions.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So actually, what we do is, for us, our flagship, the big data platform, what it does is, pulling data that's actually created from the existing hospital systems. So in another word, when we implement our solutions in a hospital setting or for policymakers or regulators, we do not display their existing operating systems. We do a full backup of that data, and this backup can happen in real time, or it can be with certain daylights, depending on the scenarios in which we are running the different analysis. So on top of this big data platform, depending on the use case scenarios in which we want to analyze that data, we can have different solutions that sit on top of it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. The challenges of collecting data from different systems across different hospitals. When our parent company just started, it's challenging because different vendor, they have different data standards, different data structures, and it actually takes us quite some time to actually understand them, right? And in China, especially, there are thousands over different vendors because the whole landscape is very fragmented, right? But actually what we realize is as we process more systems, actually generally some patterns to the way that data are being structured and stored, even though they may be of different vendor, right? And a lot of logic is based on processes in the hospitals, how data actually, are created along that process. So I would say, over the years of operations, working with, different hospitals and the system that they use, we have accumulated know-how of, processing data from different system vendor. And the other then is apart from actually the data standards, one other thing actually mostly that we find, apart from technical challenges, right? I think technical challenges are things that we can apply, technology to overcome them. Actually, for some of the different health systems that we work with, it's also a data security concerns that we have to overcome, right? And the typical way that we do it is, we actually would handhold our customers or partners in defining their data intelligence roadmap. And the best way is actually to work with them to identify, the different outcomes they try to drive or try to achieve, and then defining more precisely, the data sets that will allow them to achieve that. Right? With that, then we gain that confidence that, hey, having this data allow me to extract the value, right? So then we get around the difficult conversations, because I think the thing is, for data intelligence, right? If you don't do it, you will never know that value, right? But then, and if you never know that value, it's hard to actually justify, why we should do it. So you always get to the back and forth conversations, right? So our approach is to really, partner closely with our customers to help them define the problems that they try to solve, and by demonstrating the value step by step. Then we, proceed along with them along their data intelligence roadmap.
Yeah, this question in the chat box. How about the sensitive data of patients and the privacy policy in that regard?
Yeah, so actually, this we respect the policy of the different jurisdiction that we operate in, but broadly there are a few that we would, that we would actually follow, like international standards. And for the data, it also depends on how different places define data ownerships. And generally, the way we look at it is, preparing the data based on the specific use case that is supposed to be used for. And very often what we do is, we would de-identify the data, anonymize the data when we do all the analytics, because actually when you do your research, when you do your analysis, very often you actually do not need to work with identified data. Right, so that is the first step that we do. We de-identify the data, we anonymize the data when there's no need for that data to be identified and anonymized. And in that way, we enable actually research analytics to be done, right? And then when intervention is required, so that's when you need to identify the data. The way that we actually build the framework is patients' consents need to be obtained. Right? And in the provision of care, that is actually natural, because the patient will actually give the physician, the consent to access their data. Right? The other scenario where data may need to be identified is for research, and for that, normally, for most places, you will have to actually, the researchers will actually go through the ethics approval. And then once that is obtained, then they will go through the normal patient recruitment process for the research. and in that process, the patient's consent is obtained as well. And for us also then, the storage of that data, typically we have a two-pronged approach. For the raw data, typically it's actually stored within the customer's own environment. For that, we can actually help our customers develop private cloud environment. But if they do already have their own private cloud, we can deploy our platform within their own environment. And on top of that, as we talk about, leveraging that data, making available that data for a broader ecosystem. So that is where we would have already processed the data, de-identify the data so that the data can be leveraged by third parties to run algorithms to actually improve their service quality. Right at that layer, again, it can be actually hosted within our client private cloud, or that can be actually in a private cloud, public cloud environment. So for example, I think in Singapore, that's actually a model that they are looking at. Yeah, so so for the question about the specific codes of conduct, so there's actually two ways to or two parts to that. One is I mean, if it's more pertaining to the security and processes itself. It depends on the place that we operate. In China, they would follow the Chinese policies. And actually the Chinese policies are also very tight in protecting personal privacy. And for Singapore, they would have their, their own as well. But, there are actually, I would say, because, this whole industry is actually, or technology itself is actually evolving quite fast. So typically, actually, even though they are existing codes, in practice, most of our customers are more stringent, right? Because where there are less clearly defined boundaries, most of the time, people would actually err on the safer side. And with that, we will respect that as well.
So guys, any more questions for Mr. Chai? Yes, and in the chat box, have Mr. Chai's contact information here, the email, his email address. So if you have more questions, you can, you can write email to him. And I think people ask you, Mr. Chai, if you can share the presentation file.
Okay, yeah. I would, there are certain parts that are actually confidential, but let me tidy up the slides and I would share with the participants.
Oh, okay. So I'll contact you to collect the files from you and share to all the guys. Thank you for your sharing. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah. And thanks for your presentation today. So the last part before you left, we can take this group photo with all these participants. All the guys, please open up your video. We can have a group photo with Mr. Chai. Okay, guys. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a summer. Okay, guys. I think it's all open. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you guys, and thank you to Mr. Tsai for his great presentation. And if you have questions, feel free to contact Mr. Tsai.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's for today. Thank you guys, and goodbye. I'll see you
very
tomorrow.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.